We'd like to thank you, Governor Hogan, for this opportunity to present the fruits of our efforts after months of hard work. First thing I'd like to do is to introduce the full commission. These individuals have worked countless hours over the last 7 months. My co-chairs are Dr. Kathleen Hetherington, Judge Alexander Williams, Jr., Cheryl Brooks, Mary Clausen. Kimberly Cummings unfortunately couldn't be with us today, but hello, Kimberly, if you're watching. Jonathan Fussfield, and William Tipper Thomas. We are extremely proud of the work of our commission and the maps that we have devised. Our maps offer minimal splits of counties and municipalities compared with some other maps that you may have seen. They offer a highly understandable layout of congressional districts so that people can understand and explain what district they live in. In the pursuit of best practices, our legislative maps include a significantly lower population variance between the legislative districts, thus better upholding the principle of one person, one vote. In particular, we achieved a variance of below plus or minus 2% for Senate districts and plus or minus 3% for delegate districts. That's down from plus or minus 5%, which has been accepted in the past. We were extremely responsive to public comment, feedback, and reaction. We are proud that the Princeton Gerrymandering Project has given ratings of A, its highest rating, for partisan fairness to our congressional map and to the version that it saw of our Senate map. It has not yet rated our revised Senate map, revised about a week ago, or our delegate map, but we are confident that we will do well when it gets to those two. We will write a final report and have welcomed all commissioner members to participate in that process. I'd like to say charged us with revising congressional and legislative district lines in a fair and impartial manner without favor or disfavor to any political party or candidate. The governor appointed the 3 of us as co-chairs. We then chose the additional 6 members of the commission, 2 from each party, from over 400 citizen applications. As a mix of Democrats, Republicans, and independents, our members embraced our mission to create new district boundaries that are free from political influence, offer the opportunity for fair elections in Maryland, and do not tilt toward any party, faction, or candidate. To accomplish that mission, we pursued and developed a transparent process, really an unprecedented degree of public participation and transparency, allowing Marylanders to observe our group's work at every stage, the ideas that we were considering, as well as to engage in the process themselves. We opened a website to the public so the public could become more familiar and informed. Our maps, as we went along, were posted to the website so that the public could see the ideas that we were considering, pursuing or rejecting for how the map should be drawn. And the public
Thank you, Walter. Our public meetings began on May 5th, and we held numerous working sessions among commission members to learn the process and to discuss the data and draft maps. Most of our meetings included testimony from the public. Aside from the public meetings, we also held numerous working sessions for the commission to conduct our work. We held 3 rounds of public meetings to receive valuable input from the public as to redistricting process. Due to the continuing issue of COVID, we held these meetings virtually through Zoom. We were truly impressed with the response and the engagement from the public, and we had over 231 separate testimony accounts from members of the public. Round 1 occurred between June 9th and July 28th. It included 8 regional meetings during which members of the public could share their thoughts and concerns regarding redistricting in advance of the release of census data. Despite challenging time constraints arising from the late arrival of census data, we were able to accomplish our duties in a timely fashion and with the input of the public. During round one, we heard 163 separate testimonies from members of the public and elected officials. Round two was held from September the 9th through the 20th. Round two included 4 statewide virtual meetings during which Marylanders were able to submit their own maps and present them to the commission with live testimony. Written testimony was also accepted. We had 21 testimonies during this session. During this round, the public was able to submit their own map submissions through a portal on our website. The commission also held 6 public working sessions during the month of September to draft maps for public review and comment. This was done along with our Voting Rights Act and American elections law expert, Professor Nathaniel Purcell of Stanford Law School. Finally, round 3 was held each Wednesday evening during the month of October. It included 4 public meetings at which Marylanders could present testimony regarding the maps drawn by the commission, maps submitted by citizens, or their own map submissions. During this round, we heard 46 separate testimonies. Our viewership of all 3 rounds through Zoom and YouTube was over 4,100 people. In total, the Citizens Commission received 86 public map submissions through the portal and email. Each was reviewed by the commission and each was posted to our website. Commissioners also held public working sessions at the completion of public testimony in order to suggest and address modifications to maps, including discussions regarding the Voting Rights Act, communities of interest, and other matters of importance to district boundaries. We are truly proud of the accomplishment of the commission. We were responsive to public reaction and even revamped our maps in the areas of Southeast Baltimore County, St. Mary's County, the Towson area, Southern Montgomery County, and others in response to public requests. We also addressed issues for communities of interest, including modifying the boundary lines impacting a Jewish community in Baltimore County. As the Citizens Commission voted upon final proposed maps, each map was posted to the website. The website also included a map viewer to allow residents to enter and address and determine in which district it was located. The Citizens Commission also held an additional working session upon completion of round 3 to address additional modifications and suggestions to ensure that the Voting Rights Act was complied with. I will say this was a wonderful experience for myself and others. I met new friends, and we had wonderful sessions. We had healthy discussions. We respected each other. We didn't agree on everything, but we came up with what we think would be reasonable maps that were transparent and independent, and we think are fair. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. As noted earlier, we were extremely impressed with the engagement from residents across the state and would like to provide you with some information about our meetings. The Commission had in aggregate over 4,000 attendees at our meetings. These included organizational leaders and elected officials. For each meeting, notifications were sent out via press release to more than 46,000 contacts, and these included the media, local, county, and state elected officials, and many other organizations and individuals. Our promotional materials were translated into Spanish and distributed to the Hispanic Latinx community by our Hispanic advisor, Gloria Aparicio Blackwell, founder and director of the University of Maryland Office of Community Engagement. Our public virtual meetings offered in live Spanish translation and closed captioning for the hearing impaired, and this was done in partnership with the University of Maryland Spanish Department. We worked very hard to engage the public and make certain that our work was transparent and open. By now, you likely have a very good picture of the hard work of the Volunteer Commission. We work closely as a group with a common mission. Even though we disagreed sometimes, we were always able to talk things through for the best possible outcome for all of Maryland. These outcomes resulted in the final maps that we are presenting today and of which we are extremely proud. During our final meeting this past Wednesday evening, we heard various common themes from the remarks of the commissioners, and they included a sense of pride in the dedication and commitment of the commissioners, a sense of overcoming challenges in the spirit of compromise to achieve fair results, pride in our responsiveness to the communities that voice their concerns to our commission. And perhaps one of the biggest compliments was from Professor Nate Pursley, with whom our commission worked diligently to ensure our maps would be in compliance with the Voter Rights Act. He is nationally renowned as an expert in redistricting law and the American democratic process. At the end of our meeting on Wednesday, he told us that our commission should be held out as a model for the way things should be done. It doesn't get much better than that. And with that, Governor Hogan, on behalf of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission, I present to you our official redistricting maps for your consideration, and we thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Quite a work process. Well, thank you all very much. Good morning. I think this is a great day for the state of Maryland and for democracy. I want to thank the co-chairs, Judge Alexander Williams, Dr. Kathleen Hetherington, and Walter Olson, who have done such a fine job as the co-chairs of the Maryland Citizen Redistricting Commission, as well as each and every member of the commission for their dedicated service throughout this past year. And I want to congratulate them on their historic efforts to finally bring fairness and balance to Maryland's political system. Free and fair elections are the very foundation of American democracy and the most basic promise that those in power can pledge to citizens. Unfortunately, for decades now, Maryland's political power brokers have conducted the state's redistricting process in secret, behind closed doors, rigging the system to eliminate competition by concentrating one party's voters as much as possible while segregating another party's voters into a larger number of districts. This is exactly the kind of formula that leads people to doubt whether their democracy is truly working for them, which is why this time we want to make sure that the people of Maryland are actually the ones drawing the lines, not the politicians or the party bosses, so that instead of politicians picking their voters, the citizens will actually get to pick their representatives. And for many years, I've been involved in this effort at the state and federal level to have real nonpartisan redistricting reform. And our administration has repeatedly introduced the Redistricting Reform Act in an effort to finally take politicians and partisan politics out of the redistricting process. Sadly, despite the fact that this bipartisan common sense proposal is supported by an overwhelming majority of Democrat, Republican, and independent voters in Maryland, legislative leaders have repeatedly failed to take any action on it. Instead, they have hidden it in a drawer year after year and refused to even bring it to the floor of the House or the Senate for an up or down vote. This year is the first time ever in state history since 1790, when they did the first census and redistricting, that Maryland has ever had a Republican governor during a redistricting cycle. So one party has always had absolute power to carve up districts to benefit themselves. But we're not interested in drawing Republican districts or Democratic districts. I want what nearly all Marylanders want, which is fair maps and fair districts. So earlier this year, I issued the executive order which created an independent and nonpartisan commission charged with preparing fair, honest, and equitable maps for all of Maryland's legislative and congressional districts. This commission, as you heard, was comprised of citizens free from any kind of legislative or political influence, who are representative of the state's diversity and demographics. The commission was given a clear and simple charge, ensuring that the people of Maryland are able to choose their elected officials, not the other way around. I want to thank the thousands of members of the public who have participated in the 36 open public meetings which have been held by the commission. As a result of all that citizen input, the commission received a total of 86 different map submissions, and this is what real nonpartisan redistricting looks like. Their focus has been on fairness, transparency, and accountability. And these maps actually respect natural boundaries and the geographic integrity of our jurisdictions, communities, and neighborhoods. These fair maps show districts which are geographically compact, that do not take into account how citizens are registered to vote, how they voted in the past, or what political party, if any, they happen to belong to. They also do not take into account in any way where any incumbent or candidate for office happens to reside. They have been completed with fairness and integrity and full public view. And these fair maps finally bring an end to decades of gerrymandering in Maryland, which has made a mockery of our electoral system. Even now, politicians are continuing to fight against fairness, and they're attempting, once again, to draw their own districts in secret, behind closed doors. They have yet to release a single draft map or any citizen input, which is the same approach that has been used for decades, which has resulted in giving Maryland the unfortunate distinction of having the worst, most gerrymandered districts in America. So I'm honored today to accept these maps on behalf of the people of Maryland. I am pleased to announce that, as the executive order calls for, I will submit these final certified legislative and congressional maps to the General Assembly. Today, I'm also, in just a moment here, going to sign a proclamation to bring the Maryland General Assembly into a special session for the purpose of acting on these maps beginning December 6th. Once again, on behalf of all the people of Maryland, I want to express my sincere appreciation to the members of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission for their service to our state. And I want to thank them for conducting their business with integrity in a completely open and transparent manner, and most especially for their incredible efforts to finally restore fairness and competitiveness to Maryland elections. Thank you. So now I'm going to execute the order. With that, we'd be happy to take some questions for me or any of the members of the team here.
Selecting the legislature is going to have its own map, and may or may not pay attention to this. Would they just take all this aside?
Well, we're going to hope that we can convince them to do the right thing. This is the way the process works. The governor submits maps to the legislature. The legislature, votes and either accepts those maps, changes those maps, and sends them back to us. We're hoping that this process, the way it's been conducted, typically the governor and the legislature just met together behind closed doors in one back room and drew them together to benefit themselves. This is the first time it's ever happened, but this is the way I think it's intended to happen. And the law does say that we submit the maps. I chose not to draw my own maps, but to submit the ones from this esteemed citizen panel. Anybody else? No, I don't think we have to change any constitution. This is the way the process is supposed to work. We're supposed to submit the maps, and they're supposed to vote on them.
Legislators in Texas and North Carolina don't seem like they're going to abandon the power they have. I don't know that the Democrats that control the General Assembly here are going to sort of set aside the political opportunities they have. The Supreme Court has had this issue before them, and they've punted. Is the ultimate fix congressional? In the hands of Congress?
Well, first of all, we're drawing legislative maps in addition to congressional maps, which have nothing to do with those other states. Secondly, this is what an overwhelming majority of all the voters, regardless of party support. I was disappointed. I was there at the Supreme Court when they took up the Maryland case and the North Carolina case, was pushing for to resolve this at a national level. I've been pushing. Look, every party's guilty of this. Republicans do it when they have the power. Democrats do it, but it's still wrong, and it still needs to change. And for some people would say we shouldn't draw fair legislative maps in our state because some other state hasn't done it yet. We typically like to lead. We don't like to follow. But I think we should be doing this, nationwide and in every state. Whoever's doing gerrymandering shouldn't be doing it. Anybody else?
Governor, the General Assembly tries to take over the process and push their own route. How far can you go? What tools in the toolbox? What can you do in effect to stop that?
Well, I don't want to speculate on what might happen. I'm going to be hopeful that we can get some fair maps passed by the General Assembly. If they choose to, blatantly gerrymander again, I would imagine that someone's probably going to challenge it in court, and the ultimate decision could be made by the Court of Appeals here in the state.
Does your veto power bring anything to the table?
Well, as you know, they have 70% majorities in both houses, a veto-proof majority. So if we thought the maps were unfair, I would veto them. We would try to sustain the veto. If they overrode the veto, I think they'd probably be sued. Anybody else?
Governor, do you have any response to some of the reports yesterday about your former chief of staff, Mr. Rapp, saying that you approve of the settlement now?
Well, this is just a sad situation. This is the end of a year-long federal and state investigation that resulted in this individual being charged with 27 counts of fraud at the federal and state level. This was all part of that investigation. It's an ongoing court case. But I've been very clear about this numerous times from the beginning, and was not involved, wasn't aware of these things, and when we found out, he was terminated within a matter of days.
Did you check that memo or that agreement?
No. That was part of the investigation, and again, 27 counts of fraud and forging documents. Anybody else? All right, thank you all very much. Thank you, guys. Great job.